In September 1943, a German bomber released a weapon that sank a 35,000-ton battleship. The Italian flagship Roma broke apart and disappeared beneath the Mediterranean. The weapon itself weighed 1,400 kilograms. The guidance package that steered it to the target weighed a fraction of that amount. The age of precision warfare had begun. The history of the Second World War is often measured in tonnage, bombs dropped, divisions mobilized, and fleets deployed. However, the weapons that altered the war's trajectory were frequently small, cheap, and mass-produced. These systems did not merely destroy targets, they forced the enemy to adapt their tactics. This video examines 15 small-scale weapons that inflicted damage disproportionate to their size, cost, and complexity. A disproportionate weapon is defined by the ratio of input to output. This measures the cost of materials and training against the value of enemy assets destroyed, territory denied, or doctrines disrupted. We are tracking 15 systems, ranked from lowest to highest strategic impact. Some determined the outcome of battles, while others fundamentally changed the nature of combat. Number 15. The welrod pistol. British intelligence designed the welrod for a single purpose: silent elimination. When fired, this integrally suppressed bolt-action pistol produced roughly 73 decibels. The mechanical action of the firing pin was often louder than the report itself. The magazine doubled as the pistol grip. When removed, the weapon resembled a bicycle pump, allowing it to pass casual inspection. Resistance operatives utilized welrods to assassinate Gestapo officers and sentries across occupied Europe. The design proved so effective that it remained in British Special Forces infantry for decades. It saw service in the Falklands War in 1982 and reportedly during Desert Storm in 1991. The requirement for silent, close-range lethality ensured the weapon's relevance long after its invention. Number 14. The gammon bomb. The gammon bomb provided paratroopers with tactical flexibility lacking in standard grenades. It consisted of an elasticized stockinette bag attached to an all-ways fuse, designed to detonate on impact from any angle. The user determined the payload. A small amount of plastic explosive served for anti-personnel tasks, while up to 2 pounds could be used against tanks. British paratroopers referred to it as hand artillery. During the Normandy landings, airborne troops used gammon bombs to disable parked aircraft, demolish bunkers, and destroy tank tracks. Soldiers also discovered that the C2 explosive burned intensely without smoke, making it an effective field stove for heating rations. Number 13. The limpet mine. The limpet mine enabled small teams to disable shipping without the need for submarines or aircraft. Powerful horseshoe magnets secured the mine to a ship's hull below the waterline, while a time pencil provided a delay for the operatives to escape. In September 1943, 14 commandos from Z Special Unit infiltrated Singapore Harbor aboard a captured Japanese fishing boat. Deploying in canoes, they attached limpet mines to enemy vessels, sinking or damaging 7 ships totaling nearly 39,000 tons. 14 men, equipped with magnets and explosives that fit in a duffel bag, achieved destruction comparable to a submarine wolf pack. Number 12. The time pencil. Roughly the size of a fountain pen, the time pencil enabled significant sabotage operations. The device contained a glass ampule of cupric chloride inside a metal tube. Crushing the tube released acid, which corroded a wire holding back a spring-loaded firing pin. When the wire snapped, the detonator fired. Delays ranged from 10 minutes to 24 hours, determined by the concentration of the acid and the thickness of the wire. The St. Nazaire raid demonstrated the device's strategic value. Commandos rammed HMS Campbelltown into the Normandy dry dock, the only Atlantic facility capable of accommodating the battleship Tirpitz. The ship was packed with depth charges fused with time pencils set for 8 hours. When they detonated, the explosion destroyed the dock and killed a significant number of inspecting officers. A handful of chemical fuses effectively neutralized the threat of Germany's largest surface radar. Allied troops referred to the S-mine as Bouncing Betty. Unlike standard mines, it did not explode on contact. A propellant charge launched the canister roughly 1 meter into the air, where a delay fuse detonated the main charge. This sprayed 360 steel balls horizontally at waist height. The design philosophy prioritized wounding over killing. A fatality removed 1 soldier from the fight, but a casualty required logistics for evacuation and medical care. 1 mine could effectively neutralize 4 or more personnel. Over 1.9 million units were produced. At Utah Beach, the 12th Infantry Regiment suffered heavy casualties from S-mines sown in the dunes. The weapon forced troops to halt and probe the ground, replacing rapid maneuver with caution. Number 10. The Sten gun. The Sten gun cost $11 to manufacture, whereas the American Thompson submachine gun cost $200. This economic disparity drove the Sten's widespread adoption. Developed following the evacuation of Dunkirk, the Sten was constructed from 47 parts, primarily stamped metal and welded tubing. It could be manufactured in small workshops. It jammed frequently enough to earn the nickname "stoppage every 9", and was crude and uncomfortable to fire. However, it armed resistance movements throughout occupied Europe. The weapon disassembled into 3 parts for concealment beneath clothing. Partisans in France, Poland, and Norway used it for ambushes at point-blank range, where its lack of precision was negligible. During Operation Anthropoid, resistance operative Josef Gabčík attempted to fire on Reinhard Heydrich with a Sten. The weapon jammed, forcing his partner to use a grenade. While the mechanical reliability was poor, the operational impact was high. The weapon was cheap enough to be ubiquitous and concealable enough to be effective. Number 9. The Piat. The projector, infantry, anti-tank, or Piat was heavy and difficult to cock. Soldiers frequently complained about its severe recoil. Despite these ergonomic flaws, Canadian forces rated it the most effective anti-tank weapon in their arsenal. Unlike rocket-propelled alternatives, the Piat produced no backblast and minimal muzzle flash. This allowed it to be fired from enclosed spaces, making it an ideal weapon for urban ambushes. At Arnhem, Major Robert Kane engaged German armor, including Tiger tanks, using a Piat. Despite sustaining injuries, he disabled 1 Tiger and forced the retreat of 3 others. A single infantryman was able to blunt a heavy armored assault. Canadian surveys credited the Piat with 7% of all German tanks destroyed in Normandy. Number 8. The Panzerfaust. The Panzerfaust cost between 15 and 25 Reichsmarks and required minimal training to operate. Yet, it was capable of destroying any Allied tank on the battlefield. Its shaped charge warhead utilized the Munro effect to penetrate up to 200 millimeters of armor, sufficient to defeat heavy Soviet or British tanks. The system consisted of a disposable tube and a pre-loaded warhead. In Berlin, Volkssturm units used the weapon to inflict heavy losses on Soviet tank columns from within ruins. The threat forced Allied armor to operate with extreme caution, requiring close infantry support to clear potential ambush sites. Allied crews attempted to counter the weapon with improvised bedspring armor, but the Panzerfaust's penetration power rendered these measures largely ineffective. Number 7. The Jerry Can. The Wehrmacht Einheitskanister was a fuel container rather than a weapon, yet it influenced the logistics of the war significantly. British forces relied on flimsies, thin tin containers that leaked a significant percentage of their contents during transport. They required tools to open and were difficult to stack. The German design featured two stamped steel halves welded with a recessed seam and a camlock lid with a rubber gasket that required no tools. A triple-handle design allowed one soldier to carry 2 full cans or 4 empty ones. Allied forces reverse-engineered the design. By 1944, the jerry can was standard issue. During the rapid advance from Normandy, over 19 million were utilized. President Roosevelt noted that without these containers, the Allied supply lines across France, the MG-42. Known as Hitler's buzzsaw, the MG-42 fired between 1,200 and 1,500 rounds per minute, doubling the rate of Allied machine guns. The sound was distinct enough that the US War Department produced training films to desensitize troops to it. German infantry doctrine centered on the MG-42, with the squad's primary function being the protection and supply of the gun. A single position could pin down a company. At Omaha Beach, a single gunner at Widerstandsnest 62, Heinrich Severloh, fired over 13,000 rounds. Historians estimate he was responsible for a significant number of American casualties, demonstrating how one weapon could impact the statistics of a major landing. The first 6 systems demonstrate a clear pattern. Low cost and high availability often outweighed technical sophistication. These weapons were effective because they could be deployed universally. However, other small-scale weapons did not merely multiply existing capabilities. They created entirely new categories of warfare. Number 5. The M1 Garand. General Patton described the M1 Garand as the greatest battle implement ever devised. It was the only standard-issue semi-automatic rifle deployed by a major power during the conflict. The advantage was volume of fire. A US infantryman could discharge 8 rounds without breaking his sight picture, while Axis counterparts manually cycled a bolt after every shot. This allowed American squads to generate suppressive fire comparable to machine gun teams. In the Pacific Theater, where combat often occurred at close quarters, the ability to deliver rapid follow-up shots was a decisive factor in individual survival. The Garand democratized semi-automatic fire across the entire American infantry. Number 4. The STG-44. The Sturmgewehr 44 addressed a specific tactical reality. Combat analysis revealed that most engagements occurred within 400 meters. Standard rifles were powered for longer ranges but were slow to fire, while submachine guns lacked range. The solution was the intermediate cartridge. The 7.92 by 33 mm Kurtz reduced recoil while maintaining lethality at practical combat ranges. This allowed a soldier to carry more ammunition and deliver controllable automatic fire. Although Hitler initially blocked the project, he later approved it after witnessing a demonstration, naming it the Sturmgewehr, or storm rifle. While it arrived too late to alter the war's outcome, it established the mechanical principles for the AK-47 and M16. The concept of the intermediate cartridge revolutionized infantry small arms. Number 3. The Hedgehog. During the Battle of the Atlantic, traditional depth charges possessed a tactical flaw. To attack a submarine, a destroyer had to pass directly over the target, losing sonar contact and creating a blind time in which the U-boat could evade. The Hedgehog solved this by firing 24 projectiles 200 yards ahead of the ship. This allowed the attacker to maintain sonar contact throughout the engagement. The rounds were contact-fused, detonating only on impact. A miss did not disturb the water, allowing for immediate re-attack. The kill ratio for depth charges was 60 attacks to 1 submarine. The Hedgehog improved this ratio to 5.7 to 1. In May 1944, the USS England used the system to sink 6 Japanese submarines in 12 days, effectively eliminating an entire scouting line. Number 2. The proximity fuse. Before the introduction of the VT fuse, anti-aircraft gunners relied on estimated time settings for shells. A near miss was often harmless. The proximity fuse integrated a miniaturized Doppler radar that detected radio wave reflections, detonating the shell when it passed within lethal range of the target. The technology was considered so sensitive that it was initially withheld from ground combat to prevent capture. In the Pacific, the fuse increased naval gun lethality against aircraft by 300 to 700%. In Europe, it was instrumental in destroying V-1 rockets over Britain. When finally released for ground use during the Battle of the Bulge, artillery shells detonated above German trenches, raining shrapnel into positions that were protected against contact-fused rounds. General Patton credited the device with a decisive role in the battle. The Fritz X was a gravity bomb equipped with radio-controlled spoilers, allowing a bombardier to steer it to the target via joystick. It was the first precision-guided munition. In late 1943, German aircraft attacked the Italian fleet as it sailed to surrender. Dropped from 20,000 feet, the Fritz X was guided visually to the battleship Roma. 2 hits were scored. One penetrated the deck and detonated the magazines, breaking the ship in 2. A single bomber achieved a result that squadrons equipped with unguided munitions often failed to match. The Allies immediately began developing radio jammers, marking the beginning of electronic warfare as a countermeasure to guided weapons. The integration of electronics with explosives signaled the end of the unguided bomb era. These 15 systems illustrate that strategic impact is not solely determined by physical scale. The jerrycan proved that logistics dictate operational tempo. The Stern and Panzerfaust demonstrated that cheap mass production can democratize lethality. The VT Fusee and Fritz X inaugurated the era of electronic warfare. These weapons forced combatants to alter their behavior. The Panzerfaust compelled tank crews to modify their armor. The Hedgehog forced submarines to operate at greater depths. The S-mine dictated the pace of infantry movement. The principle remains relevant in modern warfare. Victory often relies on the ratio of cost to effect. The contemporary equivalent is the low-cost drone destroying a high-value armored vehicle. The mathematics established in 1943 persist. In an industrial conflict, advantage belongs to those who can mass-produce tactical ingenuity.